Hi everyone, yeah, welcome back. Good to see you again. You're looking well. Get yourself a drink in the seat. We're going to get started. But just before we do, I'm going to make a small correction to Friday's episode. I made it sound like EV fires were as likely to occur as gas fires, and that's just not the case. EV fires are 50 times less likely than gas fires, and in some countries that's up to 80 times. So an order of magnitude less likely, or orders of magnitude less likely. But that said, if I was picking an EV for myself, it would definitely be a non-Chinese brand. And with that, we'll get on with the show. Because yes, there's a show. It's all been happening and now you want to know. But before we can start, we must begin with hello. My name is Sean, your host and fellow. Now grab hold your beverage, your mind just as quick. We're building up for our best sip. So join me now for the greatest pleasure, where we unwind this world together. It's time now. It's time for the sip. Let's do it now. Let's do it quick. Go! Yes, I can feel it melt away. Well, on April 1st, 2026, yes, April Fool's Day, in Newark, Nottinghamshire, a 24-year-old man smashed a window and broke into a family home in the early hours, 3:15 a.m. After grabbing all the valuables he could on the ground floor, he made his way upstairs. Making his way into one of the bedrooms, he was surprised at just how comfortable one of the beds were. Yes, pretty soon he was snoring away. Nottinghamshire police got reports of a break-in and showed up fast. They searched the empty house and found him still snoring away on a little kid's bed. Bodycam footage shows the officers waking him up and saying, "Mate, what are you doing?" He looked very confused as they arrested him on suspicion of burglary and slapped the handcuffs on him. Well, at least he got a free taxi ride to his next accommodation, but I don't think the Airhead B&B reviews will be as good as the last. Meanwhile, in Iran, between Friday and Saturday, Iran announced the opening of the strait, announced not supporting militant groups. Apparently, they'd agreed to transfer the uranium, or uranium dust as it's been called. Iran's disputed that now. On Sunday, it sounded like it was near and the deal was nearly done. Boats were being allowed to pass. So there was a flow of traffic. Things looked like they were normal. An Iranian flag vessel called the Tuska tried to break through the blockade and heading towards one of Iran's ports called Bandar Abbas. That was intercepted by a US guided missile destroyer called the USS Pruance in the Gulf of Oman. After ignoring warnings for about 6 hours, the destroyer created a new escape hatch in the back of the ship. The ship now disabled, it was boarded by US Marines who have seized the vessel. They're currently inspecting the contents of the ship, so perhaps we'll hear a bit more about that later on in the week. Then late on Sunday, Iran rejected the talks that was being mediated through Pakistan, and there were some reports that they've been firing on ships as well. So I think for me, my main criticism of this whole thing is like Trump will say that and everything's done, and it's like we're there, and people just keep on peeling that back. It's very difficult to kind of get a good idea about what's going on. Sometimes the strait is open, sometimes it's closed, then we're transferring uranium, and then we're not. And it's possibly just something about this negotiation happening almost in the public at times, but so often Trump will say something, and it's just you can't be sure that that's what it is at the end of the day. So today, Monday now, we'll have to see what the response is going to be. Almost certainly there will be one. I thought they were at the end of their tether last time, but Trump has given them more rope by the looks of things. But I am hoping that there'll be at the very least, it'll be a small change in management, but rather than sort of knocking out all the power stations and taking the whole country down. But Iran's running out of runway at the moment. We're nearly 50 days into the 60-day deployment window before Congress gets involved. And I think if they don't comply, I expect those power stations to be taken offline before the forces are potentially stood down. Trump will always take the strongest position, and Iran will do well to remember that. So even then, the ride may not be over with. Cuba's now in the headlines, and people are talking about it a lot more. So I think the problems could just move over there at the moment. And all this war stuff is kind of distracting from other things like the midterms. I haven't really heard Trump speak about that at all. That's kind of an important business, to get on with. So we'll see. It's just I don't know is the bottom line at the moment, and that is a problem for me. So, but we can never really know these things. It's we're always going to see the window that is shown publicly. What's actually going on? We'll never know really. And yeah, that is kind of bringing me to the end of my notes. I've A small update from me is I'm still going to be doing these videos, but things are a little bit chaotic for the next 2 weeks. So I do plan to do something, but it is going to be short, and at least for the next 2 weeks, I'd say. But yeah, that's my update. So, but I will still leave you with a final note, and I'll say that just start something. If it's something that you've been thinking about doing, it's been on the back burner for a long time, it is worth pulling it off the shelf once in a while and just giving it a try. Maybe you might find that it was done quicker than you thought, or maybe you find it's worth maybe not worth pursuing at all. And that can be quite important too. Freeing up that mental space is really more valuable than you think. We clutter our brains with all these things that we think we should be doing, and if we can just sort of take things off the list, that really does help to give you more space to breathe. So yeah, that's it from me. And with that, I will say thank you very much and see you later.